Hello, fellow traders. 'Tis I, TheRumpledOne, coming to you Wednesday, May the 5th. The year's 2021. Let's talk trading. Purity Part 3 with Walmal. These videos are for educational purposes only. Your results may differ from mine and from Walmal. Walmal, a trader said that it was time 1, Walmal 0 yesterday because we ran out of time. So, what were we talking about?
We were talking about purity. We're talking about all the things that could that can go and influence us in terms of getting us distracted, and I think that's, for me anyway, that's my biggest downfall, is getting distracted. And so I have to have all these rules in place to keep me, I don't want to say tunnel vision, but keep me structured. And if I don't have all those things in place, I find myself going wayward. You say that I'm an addict. Well, that's, that when I start doing things like that, when I become an addict where I'm taking trade after trade, well, that's usually because I'm not following my plan. I haven't gone and done what I've set out to go and do. And, sometimes it works out. Most times it doesn't. And that's just the reality. I think most of us can go and relate to that. We know what to do. And it's sort of like, we always talk about, you call it Harry hindsight, but, you look at the chart, look how easy it is, look how it is so blatantly obvious, and if we would have traded our plan, it not only would have been blatantly obvious, but we would have made money on it, and, but because we're not being pure as to what we're trying to do here, it gets us into trouble, I think, sometimes.
Well, I think you touched on it yesterday when when you spoke about, the emotion part. That gets us almost every time.
Oh, yeah. Yep. I'll go and throw you under the bus a little bit here for a second. So like you're in a trade right now, and you knew it was going to hit the double O, and right now looking at the chart, it's sitting at 98. And the thing is, it went all the way up to 99.9, and you didn't punch out. And what would have been the better thing to do? Just punch out. Just get out, because that's what your target was. Now it looks like it may actually get up there. Now the question is, are you going to get out now, or are you going to? I want that double O. And the next thing you know,
Well, you know me.
Sitting there, for one lousy little point, and you got your double O. So
yeah, I just got my double O. I just punched out.
There you go. But the thing is, the reality is that, yeah, it worked out this time, but how many times does it come off of that? And the next thing you know, you're now sitting there hitting your stop loss, and now you're taking a big loss because of 1 point. You risked, your entire stop loss for 1 point.
Yeah.
How crazy is that when you think about it?
Yeah. And of course now it'll probably keep running. But the main thing about the purity is, it's like you said, part of its focus, and part of the focus is of course not being distracted, but the other part is not putting things on the chart that could or would distract you. Having a really clean chart, and that's what happened. So like right now I've got the Walmart chart up. Other than the Walmart lines, I have the previous H1 high and low, so I know where we are, relatively speaking. And then I've got my near indicator that's telling me, what are we near? I'm seeing we're near the weekly pivot point. We're near the H4 pivot, or, within 5 pips of the H4 pivot, within 5 pips of the previous H4 close. So all these things that I look at, I can see it's like, yeah, wow, we're right around there. So I can make my trading decisions based on that. But as far as looking at the chart, it's clean. I don't even have the 3-level ZZ on there, because what will happen is those things will influence my decision making. And so if I just want to trade the horizontal lines, I don't want anything to influence my decision making. It's just like at the double O. If anything, I should have stuck that trade, because it's like, you know what, it's got to break it. It doesn't have to, but in my mind, it's like I take those double O trades.
Yeah, and that's part of your plan, and so it makes sense, to go and stay with the trade. For me, on the other hand, that's not my trade. I play it, obviously, but it's not my, bread and butter, so to speak. So, if I go and do it, it's sort of like, okay, I got close enough. Okay, I'm close. It's one of these things where I'm close enough, good enough for me. Get on out and just not go through the aggravation of it. And I think we talked about this yesterday. I don't think we were on the video when we talked about it, but I have this thing where why do I sit in a trade, and be up, make some money, and then go and say, you know what, I'm just getting out. And my reason for getting out is that so many times it does exactly what this trade did to you just now, where okay, you're up, you missed your target by 1 point, and now it's going to run against you 5, 6, 7 pips, and then it comes back, and you go and get it all the way. But why do I need to go and have that aggravation in my stomach of okay, I was just up 7 pips, 8 pips, 9 pips, and now I'm only up 1 or 2 pips, or maybe I'm even underwater. So for me, with the way that I trade, I just can't do that, and I gotta stay. We talk about pure in terms of the charts, we talk about pure in terms of the price, but there's another thing in emotion. But we also have to be pure about ourselves. Know who we are. And I talk about that a lot. The whole thing is you got to match your trading plan with who you are, what your personality is. Because if you don't match those two, you're either you may actually be a winning trader, but you're going to be in a lot of pain a lot of times. And if you're in pain, you're going to make poor decisions.
Right. And I just noticed one thing on the chart here. We're still within the opening range of the month right now, and for the week, of course, since we just opened this month. I'm just flashing through the charts here so the traders out there can see, because we filled all the weekly gaps. Inside bar at the daily that happened yesterday, we broke out of that high. Right now we're 7 pips below it. For the range, we're only at 50. And that is just a very anemic day. Only 2 pairs over 100 pips at the moment. As far as the buy zone, the pivot was below. So if you faded the pivot, in fact, it was within the, it was actually before the short zone. So that would have probably been a just trade the buy zone without any pivot bias. But we did take out that pivot. In fact, last night I almost put a trade on to go short, but it's like, no, I like being there. And you can see we have enough room in the rat zone to trade, but there's hardly any, only about 10 pips between the zones. So there's really not much price action to be had. And so like on each one of these methods, you can see the charts are pretty clean. So I can just focus on that method, what I'm doing it. On the pivot trading plan, it said R1 bias is short. You can see when price hit that R1 right here, it went through. It actually hit the weekly R1. So if you went short there, you were rewarded. Once again, we hit the pivot. On the weekly, we took that out, and the monthly, we took that out once again. You see, we took out that daily pivot. The wick zones, in and out of the wick zone. In fact, I've been looking to break that upper wick zone. And you can see we're coming off a 3-ball here. And in fact, on our new trade, did you go short at 01 or 02 there, Walmal?
I did. Yeah, I went short.
Yeah.
We'll see how it works out, but
but you see that? See, we've been trading together over a year. I almost know what he's doing. He's knowing what I'm doing. A lot of times we'll do the exact same thing at the exact same time. It's pretty funny when we do that.
Yeah, that's the thing, when you're trading, I know what I'm going to do. Now, the thing is, do I execute all the time? No, I don't. But the thing is, that's also like if you're going to go and have a trading buddy, you got to do the same thing where you can go and keep each other in line almost.
Yeah, Yeah, because I was going to do something and you said no.
Exactly. You're violating your trading plan. You're violating everything.
Well, what happened was it was the previous day's high, and I'm thinking we've only got 50 pip range. We got to break out, and we're closer to the previous day's high than low. So if it's going to break, chances are it's going to break to the upside. And I was telling Walter, I was thinking, we had a 3 ball down here at the bottom, and I'm saying, why not just ride that, all the way up 3 ball to 3 ball, in which we just now have. That, would have been a nice, 10, 12 pip trade. But I'm thinking, probably even more. And so let's see if we get the even more here.
Yep.
So from a purity standpoint, I passed a bunch of trades today because they weren't what we've been trading recently. And then that's probably why you told me no on that one trade.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, exactly, because it wasn't what we were trading, what we said we were going to go and try and trade.
Right.
So it's sort of like, okay, you're stepping outside the box, so to speak, and
yeah.
And I said this yesterday, and I think it's worth repeating, is that sometimes when you start trying to trade different methods, all the time, that's when you get yourself into trouble, because now you're going to get confusing signals that are going to be crossed to each other, and the next thing you know, you're in trouble. You find yourself not in a situation that's very good.
Yeah. By the way, I got out of that other trade that I was in when it popped up, but I did leave a couple of pips on the table. But that's okay.
Yep, that's part of trading.
And that's one of the things about focus and purity. It's like once you're out of a trade, you're out of the trade. And it's like talking about leaving pips on the table is something that should really stop doing, because it works on your psychology. You think, hey, you know what? I just took 2 pips, or I just took 3 pips. Good trade. That's and not worry about what it did, because that really wasn't in the trading plan.
Right.
And
exactly.
Yeah. And many times is when we get out, it's only because it's an emotional thing. Like you said, you might have been down, 2, 3, 4 pips, and it's just like, oh man. Then it comes back, and as soon as you see some green, it's like you said, hey, you're looking at the money. You take the money.
Yeah, and that's how I look at things. It does come down to pips, reality wise, but at the same time, at the end of the day, I need to make X dollars at the end of the day. That's what my goal really is based on. And if I go and consistently go and trade the same lot size all of the time, well, what that does for me is that then I know how many pips I got to go and get, and it's just it's an easy 1-for-1 exchange for that. But at the same time, you got to remember what it really comes down to at the end of the day is, are you going to be able to pay for the electric bill? Or at least for me, that's what it comes down to. Can I go and pay the electric bill? Can I go and pay for food and put it on the table? That's what it comes down to for me. So
yeah, a 2-minute warning. We got 2 minutes left in the video.
Thank you. Yeah. And that's the whole thing about purity of trading, is that you got to keep on track. You got to go and make sure that what you're doing is within what you've sat down and you've figured out from statistics and from your observations and from your experience. Is this going? If I can look at this back in the past and it looks like it would make money, well, okay, let's go and forward test this. But when we forward test it, let's go and put the rules in place and make sure as we put these rules in place, we follow them. Otherwise, why bother having the rules in the first place?
Right.
There's no reason for it. And so knowing that, okay, that's what we do. And then once you've proven it, go ahead, jump into it and go and do it. And yeah, there are going to be times you're going to lose some money, but in the long run, if your analysis was good, of the statistics and everything else, you'll make money. But that's the part that you got to go and do, and being pure about what you're trading and knowing that trading is going to go and fit exactly who you are as a person.
Yeah, and the fastest 15 minutes in trading is just about up here. So, fellow traders, we'll do this again tomorrow. And when you sit down, in front of your trading platform, always remember, never forget, it's not what you trade, it's how you trade it. So go out there and drain the banks. This is TheRumpledOne, over and out.